normally when this happens in any sport, and it's difficult to comprehend or understand, the player perhaps might not want to be where the team wanted him to be, so they sent him away or couldn't run the risk, or et cetera and so forth. Is that an undercurrent here that was going on, do you think?
I think Mookie Betts wants to be a free agent. And you know what? I don't blame him for that. I don't blame somebody who goes into a system where for 7 years his employer is whoever, drafts him or whoever has him or trades for him. You don't have any choice in the matter. And if you believe in yourself like he does, and you believe that you're going to go out there and have a typical standard Mookie Betts type season, he's looking at Rich at a minimum of $350 million and a contract that could well be in excess of $400 million. And if the Red Sox are not going to offer that right now and incentivize him to lose that choice, like that choice is worth a lot of money to a player. The ability to say, this is in whom I believe, this is where I want to live, this is the organization that I want to tether myself to. If you're not going to overspend for that choice, you're not going to get the player.
So then explain this luxury tax and all this too, because how this works and whether the Dodgers are throwing caution to the wind and because that's clearly what's at play here too. Jeff, can you explain it?
No question about it. So here's the luxury tax threshold this year is $208 million. Over the last 2 seasons, the Red Sox have been in excess of it. The more times you're over the threshold, the harsher the penalties for being so get. And this is not just a money thing. This also has to do with draft picks and potentially international signing money. That being said, Rich, the luxury tax threshold should not be the driving force for trading a franchise player. And if it is, and if the Red Sox publicly come out and say that it was, then they are spinning. And that is something that a sports fan should not believe. Is it part of the package? Yes, absolutely. Was the greater driving force the fear that Mookie Betts was going to leave after a 2020 season in which the Red Sox finished third behind the New York Yankees and the Tampa Bay Rays, and that the best they were going to get for him was a 4th-round draft pick? Yes, that was the driving force of this. And you know what? I get it. I get it because they're going to have a right fielder in Alex Verdugo who's going to be there for 5 years, and they're going to have a guy in Brusdar Graterol who, as long as his shoulder holds up, is either going to be a really good starter or, at worst, their closer. So, you know what? There is, from the value perspective, if you're looking at this strictly in a vacuum, the Red Sox came out looking like bandits. The future value placed on Alex Verdugo is $70 million, and on Graterol is $40 or $50 million, if we're, again, getting very nerdy on this. And Mookie Betts' value, if he has an average year this year, his surplus value is going to be about $70 million, and they shed David Price's contract. So in a vacuum, this actually is a good and productive deal for the Boston Red Sox. It just doesn't feel that way, and I completely understand why.
Well, part of the reason why, too, Jeff Passan of ESPN and the Honda Insider Report, is that usually when you trade a player like this, you see 3 or 4 names of somebody who's either in their late teens or really early 20s. And I know you mentioned Graterol. By the way, it would have been much better if it was pronounced the way I did at the top of the show, Graterol, because that does sound like what Red Sox fans are taking to get rid of their indigestion today. Normally you see a whole host of prospects. Is the reason why we don't see that because Betts is in a walk year and the Dodgers were using that to their advantage to hold on to some of their prospects, Jeff?
100% why. When you trade a guy with just 1 year to go, I mean, you've lost a playoff run that you could have gotten last year if you had decided to deal him. And we're going to see that this year potentially with Francisco Lindor or with Chris Bryant. 2 guys who have 2 years before they hit free agency. If their teams want to cash in as best as possible, they will wait until July 31st and will trade him this year. Now, it's possible that the Cubs are contending and that they're not going to trade him. That's reasonable. It's possible that the Indians are contending and they're not going to trade Lindor. And again, that's okay. You know, you can explore doing it in the offseason potentially. But if you really want to get the most out of a guy who's getting near free agency, trading him with 2 playoff runs left is the best way to leverage it.
For more of The Rich Eisen Show, tune to Audience Channel 239 on DirecTV for free on BR Live or download the Rich Eisen Show app.